one of the ways that the monkey mind leads us to feel disconnected from ourselves and other people is that it seems to insist that other people be different. My partner should not be so defensive, or my partner should appreciate me more, or my kids should listen better, or my coworkers should do their job. Notice that this kind of thinking is aimed at, if other people change, if they get this under control, then my life will be better. Then everything will be okay. And when we point out those things to the people around us, does it ever create that result? Meaning, do we feel more connected? Do we feel closer to them? Do they feel closer to us? This strategy is like thinking that we're in control of other people. And if you stop for a minute to think about that, that's not our job, is it? And if we assume that it's our job to tell people how they should be, do they feel empowered to be themselves? Now, this is not the same as setting boundaries. It's really healthy, right, to be ourselves when things are not acceptable. And it's not the same as insisting that somebody else be different. For example, if you had somebody that consistently yelled at you, saying, look, the next time you raise your tone of voice like this, it's not acceptable for me. I'm going to take a pause, and then I'll come back until you gather yourself. That's a clear boundary. And look, it has nothing to do with the other person. We're not even insisting that the person change. What we're actually doing is setting a boundary, and that boundary communicates what needs to happen. But it's very different than this focus where the monkey mind keeps leading us in a direction that is pointless, in a direction that gives us the illusion of being in control, but in reality, we're not. Oftentimes, even with coworkers and with people that it's not that close of a relationship, we will think those thoughts, but don't even articulate them. We won't even say it. What about if we could focus in a different way, which is prioritizing the connection with the person? And what's strange about making that decision is that the monkey mind will jump on board and start telling us that it'll never work and that we are just being passive and that it's not the way to be. But in reality, think of what connection actually feels like and what it looks like. It's not insisting that the person be different. It's about being in relationship with the person. For example, let's say your kid oftentimes doesn't listen to what you're saying. You're in the kitchen making something and they go, huh? And imagine for a moment, instead of thinking, oh, this is so frustrating, they should be listening, imagine if you said, wow, you look really absorbed. I was just telling you something awesome. And then notice what happens. It's about being present with them. And when we drop the expectation that the person be different, suddenly there's room for curiosity. There's room for connection. We can breathe now and relax. Now, notice that the most difficult thing about following this constant chatter about other people and how they should be is that it actually brings us a lot of anxiety. The more I believe that the people around me should not do what they do, or the more I focus on how frustrating it is that they behave this way or they have this pattern, the more my focus goes on that pattern, the more my experience becomes a high level of anxiety, and I miss out on connection. What if we could shift this dynamic by first noticing the stories we tell ourselves about other people and noticing how there's a big hook in the story because the stories make sense. A lot of people in our lives are behaving in a way that, for example, if your partner's defensive every you say something, yes, that makes sense. Please stop being defensive and listen to me. It makes a lot of sense. Yet the monkey mind doesn't pay attention to the result, meaning it's not really connecting with the experience we're having. It keeps the story going and it keeps us wanting the result. It's like we're hooked and we're wanting this result without paying attention to what is actually happening. Notice that the other aspect that's going on is that the people in our lives also are thinking the same thing about us, most likely. And that happens often. They're thinking we have patterns that we're stuck into that they don't like, and they'd like us to be different too. And notice that it doesn't help us when people point out the behaviors or the things we do and they criticize us for it and tells us we need to change. It's like motivating ourselves to change with shame, with saying, yeah, that's not okay. You're not okay because you behave that way. Versus learning to approach our behavior first by connection. Once we have the connection, then what's happening is in the nervous system, we feel safe. We feel safe to be ourselves. I've noticed in my life now where I can actually laugh at myself. I can actually look at some of the behaviors of what I do. I remember realizing where I was about finances, let's say years ago, I would come to my wife with these Excel sheets and talk to her about money. And I would want to insist that we do it differently and that she does it differently and she stops spending this way or that way. And every time it created conflict and friction. And then at some point when I finally got a grip on this monkey mind, I actually was able to look at myself and see, oh, what I'm actually doing is I'm insisting that my wife be anxious with me. And that was the agenda. Notice how the monkey mind wants to be in control and wants to control other people. And you should be different and you should be anxious with my behavior too. And it's as if, okay, if we're anxious, which is what my monkey mind believes, then we'll be more responsible, we'll change. We have all kinds of ways in which we insist people to be different. And oftentimes we project our own ways of being that are dysfunctional, and we're asking them to be that way too. There's a different way to live. There really is. And it's not fighting the monkey mind. It's not trying to fix the problem that the monkey mind is doing this. It's about slowing down and noticing the next time you have a thought that says, oh, why are they doing this? Take a breath, breathe deeply, and notice where this is heading. Notice where you're wanting to be in charge of something that is not up to you. And breathe into this. And notice inside of yourself what it would be like to actually connect with the person. Really pay attention. And ask yourself, how could I actually connect with them right now? And it will come to you naturally. Because at that point, you have disarmed the monkey mind. Thank you for spending this time with me. This podcast is meant to be more than just information. If there's one thing I've learned over the years is that we are wired for connection. And if we are to learn the skills of living beyond this monkey mind that can be so overwhelming, it's best to do it together. And for that purpose, we've created groups. We call them pods. And we name them Aviv La Vie, which means live life to the fullest. Come and join us.